Hi, good morning, everybody, and happy Wednesday. I am super happy today because it's day 3 of our Ultimate Thanksgiving Dinner Contest, and today is all about the main course. Yeah, bring on the turkey. We are talking Turkey 101 this morning. I'm going to show you the way I roast a turkey. I know everybody does it a little bit differently, and if you know what, you're happy with the way you do it, stick with your plan. But this is the way I do it. I get a lot of questions all the time about, how do you cook turkey? And I think a lot of people are overwhelmed about the idea of cooking turkey. I tell you, it's one of the easiest parts of the Thanksgiving dinner. It really, really is. And there's nothing better than a well-roasted turkey. So I'm going to take you through the steps on how I do it. We also have 2 great contestants in the house. This contest has been so much fun this week. They're both doing main course recipes, and they do something other than turkey for Thanksgiving. One of our contestants is doing a stuffed beef tenderloin with mushrooms. Perfect for Thanksgiving, or maybe for some of the other holidays coming up in a few weeks, Christmas, New Year's. And another one of our contestants says, you know what, she doesn't like hassling with carving turkey, which can kind of be a pain. Or maybe you've got a smaller group that you're feeding. Maybe you're just doing Thanksgiving dinner for 2. Why not do Cornish game hens? We're going to share her recipe coming up. But a sip of coffee, we're going to get to work on how to roast the perfect turkey and make a wonderful gravy to go along with it. So here we go. Ann, how are you doing today? Are you ready for some turkey?
I'm ready.
I am ready too. It's been a fun week. It's been super, super busy, but thanks to the great contestants and all your wonderful recipes, we got so many great recipes to choose from, and let me tell you, it was not easy. So Monday, we did all those great side dish recipes from my creamy, cheesy cauliflower soup topped with bacon and cheese and scallions and croutons. And then Chef Ken made his killer mashed potatoes with bacon and scallions and cheese. Then we did that cheesy broccoli wild rice casserole, amazing. And the big winner Monday was that cranberry grape salad. Yesterday was all about those amazing stuffing recipes and my stuffed mushrooms. Today's about the main course, and then tomorrow, of course, we're doing desserts. And by the way, when we're all done with this contest, you can go to the website and download all the recipes we did in one big, nice, ultimate Thanksgiving menu. So hopefully you'll do that. Okay, Turkey 101. Yeah, a lot of people are scared about roasting a turkey. And to be honest with you, my first turkey, I was too. I think I cooked the first turkey upside down, which actually now a lot of the chefs say that that's the way you do it. I don't know. This is my method to do it. And again, I cannot stress enough that if you do your turkey one way and everybody raves about it, stick with your way of doing it. This is just an idea of how I do it. And maybe you're not happy with the way your turkey's turning out. So you might want to try my way of doing it. So the first thing I do is I don't buy too big of a bird. I normally go between a 14 and 18 pound turkey. I find that if they get too big, I think it's really hard to cook it evenly. If I do have a lot of people coming, sometimes I'll cook for Bob's family. I'll do one big turkey inside the oven, and we'll either deep fry a turkey or I'll do a turkey breast. Most of the people in my family go for the white meat, so more breast meat, more better in our family. So then I'll just pick up a big turkey breast and roast that along in the oven with the turkey, which is usually the way I do it. Really important, once you get all the wrappings off the turkey, is to rinse it. So before the show started, we got all the wrappings out, we took the turkey neck out, and then you also want to pull all the giblets. And you don't want to roast the turkey with all this fun stuff that comes inside. Now, some people save this for dressings and some other recipes. Some people make the turkey gravy with it. That's up to you what you want to do with it. Normally, my family's not a big fan of it, so I get rid of those. But it really is super important to wash that turkey very, very well and then pat it dry. So Ann really gave it a nice wash, but you really want to pat it dry and make sure none of the raw juices end up in your roasting pan. So I already see that we've got some in here, so get those all up. Real important to do that. Also want to make sure your bird is thawed. I've talked a number of times with the folks at Butterball, and they get calls on Thanksgiving, well, I've got a frozen turkey, what am I going to do with it? Well, you probably need to run out at that point and get a fresh, unthawed turkey. These guys are big, and most of us, buy frozen turkeys because they're a lot cheaper. So really a couple days, at least 3 days ahead of time, get that turkey out of the freezer and get it into your refrigerator to let it start thawing. If you know it's the day before, it's still not too late, but the method to do that is in a cold water bath, constantly changing. You know, I do it in a sink and fill it with cool water, and then, you know, when it gets a little bit warmer, the water, get rid of it. More cool water. You don't want to thaw your turkey on the counter. You don't want to thaw it in warm water. You know, bacteria can develop. Nobody wants to be going to the emergency room on Thanksgiving. That is no fun. Trust me. Not that it ever happened, but I don't want it to happen. So our turkey is good and patted dry, rinsed really well, and now we're going to season the heck out of it. It's a big bird, and I think that's where a lot of us go wrong. So I'm starting with a stick of butter. You could certainly cut back on that and just use a couple of tablespoons. You could also use olive oil, or even vegetable oil. But we want to coat that skin and give it a wonderful brown golden color like we see in the magazines. And really the only way to do that is some sort of a nice oil, so butter or oil, some sort of a fat over the skin. It's going to make it look gorgeous. So I'm melting my butter, and then I've got some other seasonings here. I happen to love, and I grew up with, garlic salt. That's something, you know, back in the day we didn't have, or if we did, we just didn't have access to all the fresh herbs and all the fresh garlic. So my grandmother, my mom cooked with garlic salt, so to this day I like to season my turkey with garlic salt instead of regular salt. Regular salt also will be fine if that's all you have. You don't have to run out and buy garlic salt, but I just happen to love it. So I'm taking my butter, and you can rub the butter over the turkey without melting it, but I just find that's, oh, and Abby says she does, my producer does pats of butter under the skin, which is a great idea too, to loosen up the skin and put some pats of butter underneath there. Might have to try that this year, Abby. But again, I'm showing you the way I do it at home, so this is the way I do it. And again, you can kind of get your hands in there and rub that butter all in there, but that just, to me, it makes a big old mess. So I just drizzle the turkey with butter, lots of butter, and season it really well with garlic salt. Season the heck out of it. I think that's, like I say, one of the problems that us home cooks, sometimes it just doesn't taste like it does at the restaurant. Big bird here, or, you know, in some cases a big roast. It's a big piece of meat. You got to season it well. Fresh ground black pepper. I like to do dried parsley, just for some pretty color. And then some paprika, and again, that's going to give it a gorgeous color on the top, kind of all over. Now, one of my other tips is I pull this turkey out of the fridge a good hour before I'm putting it in the roasting pan and getting it in the oven. I don't want to roast it ice cold, just like putting an ice cold steak on the grill. You're not going to get a good sear on it that way. It's going to take even longer to cook. So I preheat my oven to 350 or 375. Everybody's oven's different. So I like to start my turkey at a little higher heat, and then sometimes I'll bring the temperature down. So a good 375 is what I do at home. I get that turkey in as is, and then after about an hour, I basically tent it with foil and add chicken stock. I always keep on hand, especially during the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, several boxes in my pantry of chicken stock. I do not want to not have enough gravy for everybody. In fact, I want plenty of extra gravy. So sometimes that bird does not create enough drippings. So after about an hour of it roasted in the oven, the skin starts to get nice and starting to get golden. That's when at least 4 cups of chicken stock go into the bottom of my pan. I then cover it with foil and finish the rest of the roasting process. I use, see this meat thermometer that comes with the turkey? Do not use that as your guide. Sometimes they don't work, they don't pop out, then you've overcooked your turkey, or sometimes they pop out too soon and it's not done. The best thing is to use one of those instant read meat thermometers and check to make sure your turkey is done that way. So, and I continue to baste every half hour after that first hour of roasting, and sometimes I'll continue to add more chicken stock. But again, I usually keep it covered with foil after it gets nice and brown until sometimes the very end. I'll uncover it and then just finish up a little bit more browning toward the end. Let this bird rest. So important to let your turkey rest before you carve it. Look at this turkey. So we roasted this morning. It's how gorgeous is this? The skin gets nice and brown. We fight over the skin in our house. That first slice, we slice, Ireland and I always want the first slice of that breast. So let it rest before you carve, at least 15-20 minutes, and keep it tinted with foil. All right, gravy 101. So look at all the drippings that we got the way I roasted it, added chicken stock. We've got plenty of drippings for the gravy. So now if you see any, big pieces of fat and kind of things that, that you don't necessarily want in your gravy, you can either spoon them out, but what I like to do is I actually take a strainer in a bowl, and any of that kind of stuff that I just don't want in my gravy, I run through a strainer, and that way we get rid of that stuff that, no thanks in my gravy. I like a nice, smooth, wonderful gravy. Okay, so this is looking perfect. So at this point, I'm going to take my drippings, and again, everybody does gravy differently, but this is how we do it in our house. And I take some extra chicken stock, and I do it in a measuring cup normally. Lots of those flying around on Thanksgiving. And I love to use Wondra flour rather than the regular flour. This is really great for gravies and sauces, especially when I was first starting out making gravy and I was so nervous. I didn't want the lumps, and I had some lumpy problems with gravy. So I think, my mother turned me on to this, and I've been using it ever since. You're not going to get the lumps with this. It's a super fine gravy. I've always have it on my hand in my pantry, and it really rocks. So basically, I'm mixing some chicken stock rather than water, rather than milk. And this is going to be my thickening agent. So I'm heating this up on the stove. Now, some other gravy enhancers, some things that we want to give our gravy some flavor. Sometimes you're just not getting that flavor you want from your gravy. Sometimes you're just not getting that color that you want from your gravy. So I take that Wondra flour in my chicken stock, get it into my pot, and the minute it comes to a boil, it's going to thicken. I've got my whisk standing by. And I want to just talk just for a second about some other things that you can add to your gravy to get a little more flavor. Just a splash, you might have it around anyway for Thanksgiving, a splash of a dry white, or even a little, if you want a little sweetness, you could do even a little bit of a dry, sweeter wine. Just if you're, sometimes I taste the gravy as I'm going, and it's just missing a little something. So a little bit of dry wine would be nice. If you like a little bit of a hint of sweetness to your gravy, you might have some apple cider around the house for the holidays. A little bit of apple cider for a little sweeter gravy really works nice. And if you're not getting that color that you want, this is something I also keep on hand for the holidays. Well, I have it all the time in my pantry, and it's just, it's called Kitchen Bouquet, and it's a browning sauce, and it's going to really kind of richen the flavor of your gravy and bump up the color. So when we come back, this hopefully will be to a boil. I'm going to see if it needs a little bit of this browning sauce to just kind of bring it to the next level. And, we're ready to carve this bird and get this show on the road. Today is all about the main courses. So we're going to put my tips on how to do the perfect turkey on the website. And coming up, we've got 2 more contestants in the house. One of them's making a stuffed beef tenderloin with mushrooms. The other one's making roasted Cornish game hens. So stick around. Their recipes are coming up, and we'll be right back.